Zachary is the founder of the influencer agency ApexDrop LLC and the creator of Drop Packages, a better way to build brand buzz. Since 2015, over 500 consumer brands have used Drop Packages to easily and affordably send thousands of product samples to unpaid micro-influencers across the US. Headquartered in Pennsylvania, they have since grown to over 40 employees and helped consumer brands build buzz, including Adobe, Procter & Gamble, and Starbucks. Zachary is an industry thought leader, sought-after speaker, and author. He has over 2 decades of marketing experience building multi-dollar brands and organizations. So, being in the marketing world, you've been in the industry for some time. What is it that pisses you off about marketing?
That's a great question. So I would have to agree with Buckminster Fuller in his feeling that the worst thing about mankind is proximity. What that means is like we only focus on what's right here in front of us. So, it wasn't that long ago. I'm showing my age, but when I was in my 20s, the internet was just kind of coming in, and marketers, which I've been my whole life, started to become more and more obsessed with the source of the sale. It's like, how do you track it? Go all the way back to when they clicked or when they bought. And I found that salespeople and marketers started to become a blended job. Like, it's like, you're not just a marketer anymore. The thing that bothers me the most is that marketers are becoming salespeople. Mm-hmm. So nothing wrong with salespeople. Like they are a wonderful part of the earth. They're the people that drive everything. I just think marketers have a different role and they're getting a little bit blurred. Mm-hmm. So marketers, in my opinion, should be focused on big picture. They should be thinking about the not just the sales from last year, but like what's coming up this year and how we're doing so far this quarter. And I think that's really the definition of marketers, is if you're able to think like that, then you're doing marketing. And the definition of a salesperson is someone who's thinking about the sale today. So it's the actions that you have to do right now that produce a deal. So ask yourself that question: which one do you get to focus on each day? And if it's the sales side, you're a salesperson. Sorry to say it. So I'm a proud marketer and I want to help marketers get back to being marketers. I think that the world has been shifting since the internet, since the dawn of the internet. The customers are slowly becoming the new marketers. And it's kind of neat to see this shift in power from all these ads and like the big traditional media and traditional publishing has now gone all the way to it's the review on Amazon that like matters. And I think that's fantastic. So with this giant shift, it's just marketing is becoming, something about sales, and it should be more about the stories that are being told. However, it's not that cliche, like you should be telling your brand story. I think it's really about, you should be helping your customers tell your brand story. Like get your head out of this, stop trying to control it all. But that's probably the worst thing about marketing right now, is we're just so short-sighted and we're so stuck in our own ways and old ways.
Yeah. And, going back to Buckminster Fuller, I believe he also said something to the effect of like, you never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, you have to build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. And I think that sounds like what you're doing with ApexDrop in the marketing world. Is that right?
Yeah, he was a big believer in making tools that make us think differently. And I think that's an inspiration, absolutely something that I lean into.
Yeah. So kind of talking about the changing world, the changing climate, what would be the worst thing about influencer marketing? Like, how has that affected marketing in general and the world?
Yeah, so I guess the thing that bothers me is when I see one of my favorite people on social media, whether I like YouTube Shorts, I also like TikTok. But when I see someone I follow, somebody I trust is just completely selling out and they're promoting a product that's ridiculous or just, supplements or something like that doesn't fit their brand. And you can tell that they are just doing it for the money. I'd say that's the worst side of influencer marketing. And that's not the worst thing ever. It's advertising. It comes with it. But I think that ads end up ruining social media. So influencer marketing has become just another form of advertising that is ruining another platform. And, we go through these cycles, it seems like, where platforms get destroyed by advertisers. And I don't really want to be a part of that. So I work in the influencer marketing space, but I'm not in the space of let's destroy social media. because I like it too. I want to be on there. I want to enjoy it. So I should preface this with that content creators, I think of them a little differently. So I think of influencer marketing and content creation as artists and art. And I think that just gives me a little bit of a different perspective because my son is 20. He's an aspiring artist. He plays the guitar too. We both love art. We both think about music and talent, and maybe we kind of look at it differently than just it's an ad form. These are advertisers. And because of this, I think that my heart drives me to help the artist so that they don't sell out and become these cheesy, cringy influencer marketers that you see all over Instagram and such.
Yeah. Why do you think it's a waste of resources then, rather than, like you said, letting them be creative? Why is it a waste of resources to pay influencers?
So, yeah, I don't know if I would say it's a complete waste of resources because it does work sometimes. So I guess the way I would think of it more is like an influencer is an artist who, if they create something valuable, they should be paid for the value that they bring. I think everybody should be paid for the things that they do when it's valuable. So that's not a waste, but I do think that the relationships are kind of weird. There's this weird lopsidedness of a brand and an influencer, and that they're not really lined up the way they should be. So there's so many different forms of influencer. So if you call this like, what's the proficiency of an influencer? You're like, okay, well, there's the new guy who's just coming up, making videos, just playing. It's more of a fun little thing that they're trying. Then you got the guy who's kind of moving up to the intermediate space, and they're maybe doing this more than a hobby. This is something they do daily. They're trying to create a business out of it, or they're trying to work the system a little bit. And then you move up to the expert levels, and the expert levels are people that have been doing this for a long time, not influencing, by the way, but literally just doing something valuable for the world that people enjoy, whether it's their vlog or blog or their stories that they tell or the pictures they take. They get really good at that. And then they can grow into be a celebrity or get famous if they reach the top or the pinnacle. But because I see the influencer in these different categories and different tiers, I think of it as, you wouldn't pay somebody who just got out of college or isn't even done with college a good amount of money to do a job that they're not even really familiar with. So like for example, if you're in college and you're trying to get a job, you might actually go through an internship first. Most people know that internships are kind of a way for the person to feel out the job, and also for the person hiring to feel out what the influencer's like. And that period of time is a good time, whether it's paid or unpaid, it's good. And I think that that's kind of where my head is around don't pay influencers. It's more of like, don't pay them yet. Make sure that they're a good fit. Work out jobs once you know they're a good fit. So try and find a middle ground where you can meet them, get to know them, make sure that they're a friend before you start telling them what to do and creating this transactional relationship, because they're people, they're not advertisements. And I think that's the wastefulness, is that the brand doesn't see that they're people and that there's so much more value than just the stupid post they're about to do. This is a potential customer for life. Like you should treat that like this is a long game. So that's where the wastefulness comes in.
Yeah. And no matter what happens, your name is on it, right? So like you do that, your name is on them and their name is on you.
Exactly. You'll be tied to this person. Now, influencer marketing, the way the traditional influencer marketing is, you pay somebody and then they say thank you to the brand and it's #paid. The way my agency does influencer marketing is not to try and create ads. We're actually just trying to help people have good experiences with products. And if they talk about it naturally, so be it. And if they don't, so be it. So I don't really look at the post as a permanence. I think of it more like a customer that talked about you. So like you wouldn't overthink someone posting about you on Amazon. They're just a customer. Okay, we're going to get more customers and they're going to talk too. So if you think of influencers as just exceptional customers, get your head out of this idea that they're little celebrities and you got to worship them. You'll start treating them like people, and you'll start thinking of them like great customers rather than these little celebrities that they're really not a lot of times.
Yeah. So what should, companies do instead of paying influencers then?
So I always say like move money from paid media to earned media. If you're going to, so paid media includes influencer marketing and so does earned media. So I'm not saying stop working with influencers. Stop paying influencers just means that stop paying them to like you.
Mm-hmm.
So like you don't need to pay people to do things that they wouldn't do naturally, right?
Mm-hmm.
People are going to create content naturally. So I would say that a good place to move your money into are the different forms of earned media. So what if you're familiar with earned media, then you know that there's ways to do product placement. There's a way to get product sampling.
Mm-hmm.
There's a way to do reviews and user generated content. It's not just about clicks and last click and sponsoring and getting social media ads that it's about getting in the native feed, get in the real, like where the music is. You want to be featured in the song, not in between the songs. So how do you get yourself into the song? Well, you have to work out, I call this integrated media or inspired media.
Mm-hmm.
It's a new form of media where you're doing a numbers game, and you're trying to get yourself as part of the conversation by getting yourself in front of as many people as possible. And if you have a great product, you shouldn't be afraid to do that, because your product be shared naturally. It'll be talked about naturally within the groups that love it. And I think that influencers are excited to impress you and to build a connection with you, because they do ultimately think that they will be able to be getting famous at some point, or that you could be the stepping stone to fame. So, you have a really privileged space when you're talking to an influencer. You have a lot of power. You're the person they're trying to impress. And don't forget that just because you're not paying them doesn't mean there's nothing there for the potential future. So, I always recommend influencers to just continually obsess about their product, whatever they're producing. And I also recommend that brands do the same thing. Just obsess over your product and being a great product. And, maybe have somebody introduce you to the influencer rather than going out there and trying to get the introduction done yourself. And that's literally why I created my own business called ApexDrop Influencer Marketing. It's a connecting. That's really all we do, is we just connect them in a way where they both are empowered. The brand can get the reach and the awareness and the increase of sales eventually, and the influencer can get the reach and awareness and the cool products to share, and that connection that could lead to growth on both sides.
Yeah. And why do you think that trust and credibility is so important?
If you build credibility and trust, you can earn media for all time without my help. So like Nike, Apple, who's your favorite brand? Like, do you have a favorite?
I could be basic, and I could say, Nike.
Now, like, why do you like Nike?
Because I think they have a good message, and I think that they connect with good influencers, and they connect people who believe in their story.
If you want to be a household brand like the Nikes or the Apples of the world, you'll need to build credibility and trust first. And that means you have to have a product people like, and they have to believe that it's consistently going to be good. So if you can build that credibility and trust, then you can then start to grow naturally. So it's getting those cutting edge, the people that are looking at the new things, they want to try the new things. You'll start becoming the thing people talk about instead of being the ad in between. So you become part of the song. People put tattoos of Harley Davidson on their body. People put Apple tattoos. I mean, if you have advocates that do tattoos, you're doing something right as a brand. That means you represent an idea that people can really attach to.
Yeah.
And I think influencers, people kind of misconstrue this idea of trust, and they think, oh, influencers are they're trusted, so let's use them. It's like the worst thought ever. Let's use someone who's got trust to get sales. Yeah. It's like the worst. It's the cringiest thought.
Yeah.
The way to think about this is to say, how can I gain the trust of these influencers? And if they trust my product and my brand, they're going to talk about it with their trusted audience. And it's really not a complicated thought, but for whatever reason, us marketers, we tend to get all caught up in sales, and we start to forget that they're people and that there are right ways and wrong ways to interact with humans.
Yeah. So what would you say frustrates you, kind of going off that? What frustrates you about marketers doing influencer marketing?
Okay, so that's a big one. So to unpack that, I think they get in their own way. Marketers love to overthink everything, and they believe that their product is so great, and they get kind of self-obsessed, and they get overconfident in what they do. And it comes from a little bit of cockiness from usually having success. So like the marketers that are hired right now at all the bigger companies, they had success. And usually their success came from, I hate to say like it's direct sales, but it was like they did some direct sales method that was at scale. It seemed cool. So maybe they did pay-per-click and they were getting lots of extra sales real fast. And the company's like, look at this guy. He's a killer marketer. And in reality, he is a direct sales agent. Like he was getting direct sales. And then, sometimes that'll start to taper off and they say like, what's next? So the marketer tends to think, well, what do I need to do to get that quick hit? And it's like a drug. So like, they just want to get a quick hit and they look at influencer marketing and they go, oh, there's the quick hit. It obviously works. All the big guys are doing this. So, they, like I said, they're getting in their own way, but they're playing checkers instead of playing chess. They're not playing the long game. They're playing whatever's fast, what's easy, what gets it done. So it's not the marketer that pisses me off doing influencer marketing. It's more of the mindset that they have that this kind of is disappointing that they're not seeing it for what it is. So marketers make cringy ads. I mean, I hate to say that. So including myself, I think my brand is cool. ApexDrop's awesome. And I could talk about it all day, but the reality is I'm the only one thinking about it all day. And most people don't give a crap. So, I care too much and I've got my blinders on and I'm biased. And I call this the marketer's touch or the advertiser's touch. It's kind of like the Midas touch, except instead of everything that you touch turn into gold, it turns to shit. So like you take a good piece of content and you put a marketer on it, the marketer will turn it into a piece of shit. And there's a reason for this, because they don't know that it's shit, because they love their brand so much. And so anytime their brand's talked about, they just go, look at how great this is. They're talking about us. Isn't this great? So marketers use cheap hacks. They use quick tools and they fool the audience into liking products. And what they're really doing is they're fooling the morons of the world into buying their stuff instead of really engaging with the highest quality customers that are buying the really expensive, cool things. You want to get good customers, you got to stop using tricks. You got to stop doing the quick hits. You got to actually act like a marketer and think out for a year or two. And so, you can really hurt your brand's reputation doing influencer marketing if you're not careful. You can start, engaging with influencers and getting your boss excited. They see pictures of really cute people doing cute things. And they're like, oh, wow, look they're using our product. Isn't this great? And in the end, the audience is over here going, do you see how ridiculous this looks? Like the owner of the company doesn't see how ridiculous it looks because they just see their product in the hands of somebody who's cool. And it's a lie, and it's a bias that's really hard to break through. So I get mad when a marketer thinks influencer marketing is a magic bullet and it's like, oh, this is going to save the company. This is the big thing. Or they treat it like it's affiliate marketing. Like these are little salespeople running around. And I mean, I'm getting this from big enterprises. I talk to big enterprises and their marketers are I hate to say a lot of them are so full of themselves, but like they really are. Like they don't know what they're doing. They get paid way too much money. And they're like, they think that they know their audience so well that they get really cocky and they're like, they use big words that nobody understands. And it's literally, I've been in the game for my whole life. I know what all those words mean. And I know which ones are fluffy and I only hear the fluff. Reality is it's not affiliate marketing. It's like, affiliate marketing is when you get somebody to go off and sell your product not because they love it necessarily, but because they want to make some cash. Okay, turning influencers into affiliates. Who got this bright idea? How about you turn your influencer into a great customer? Like get them to be a good customer. Then if they love it, they do what they always do, which is tell everybody they know about the things that they care about. Now that's the magic. And so like, brand forgets that impressing the influencer to become a customer is key. And they might say, well, how do I get an influencer to like me if I don't pay them? I can't just sit back here and wait for influencers to come in and buy my product at the store. I gotta call them and say, hey, I need you to talk about my product. And so, I'm so old. This is still a phone for me. Like nobody does this. This is the new phone. I got to do this now. But yeah, marketers, they get so crazy and they get so obsessed with, the algorithm being fed and like, I got to make sure I get the keywords and I got to stuff it. And then I got to get the scraper and I got to scrape all the data. And like, they get so crazy. So, marketers are so full of crap. And I've been a marketer my whole life. So I know, cause I've been the marketer crap, I've been that guy. I'm really trying to get to the other side. and say like, how can I help marketers be seen as a respected authority in an expert field, and not this like, there's good lawyers, there's bad lawyers. Like we all know there's real bad advertisers. And I believe there's such thing as good advertisers. And I'd like to be on the side of the good that's creating a better environment on social media, that's actually making content that is artistic and creative and interesting and funny and cool. And it's not just like, oh God, skip, God, skip, please, God. Like all day, people just skip billions of dollars worth of ads. And I just think it's the biggest waste. And most of these guys with all the money, they have no idea that we're just skipping everything. And we just can't wait to get past their stupid ads. Anyways, I probably went down the rabbit hole.
No. Well, so, you raise a good point though, but how do you balance the creative control for your influencers, but still prevent, like you said, that cringy content that's fake and tricky?
Oh, so tough. So it starts with education. Like the influencers need to remember that if they start taking payment, then they have to do what the brands tell them to do. So that's why I'm like a middleman here saying, hey, you actually don't have to take the payment. And that's a weird thing, because an influencer's initial reaction is, well, that's not fair. I worked so hard, I should get paid. And I totally understand, because they should. But the reality is that introduction it really needs to happen with the introduction first. If you're a creator who doesn't love the product you're talking about fully, you need to stop. You need to stop right now, because selling out, in my world, the definition of selling out is not you took the money. Selling out is you're doing what you're told instead of doing what you love. You're doing what the brand thinks is cool, not because what you think is cool and what you think adds value to the audience. You are the advocate for your fans, not for the brands. So it's fans before brands. And I say this to the brands. I go, look, I'm an advocate for the fan. I'm not an advocate for the influencer or the brand. I'm an advocate for their fans, because they're the customers. Get your head out of the freaking garbage. So yeah, I guess I don't know if I answered the question.
No, I think you did. But I mean, just to be clear though, because it sounds like, you were saying you're here for the fans, but should influencers be paid for campaigns?
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. Yes. So stop paying influencers to like you, please. But like, absolutely pay influencers for amazing stuff. So instead of calling them an influencer, why don't you just think of them as what they really are? Somebody made you a piece of content. Maybe somebody made you something amazing. If they created something, pay them for the creation. What you don't want to pay them for is to pretend that they like you.
Yeah.
And that's all I'm getting at with the don't pay influencers. So you can create a relationship first. And I call this friends before favors. Develop a friendship, then ask for favors. If a new neighbor moves in next door, what are you supposed to do? We don't do this anymore, but we should. Go next door, bring them a basket of fruit. Hello, I'm Zach. It's nice to meet you. I'm your neighbor next door. I wanted to give you this basket of fruit. If you need anything, give me a call. Here's my number, or just holler next door. So then you walk away without expectation. And then a week or two go by, you're cooking, and you're like, crap, I need an egg. Oh, Joe next door, you run next door. Hey, Joe, remember you met me a few weeks ago. Could I borrow an egg? Not only are they going to say, yeah, they're going to say, come on in. This is my dog. And this is my wife. And they're going to introduce you to their family. And like, now you're friends, right? So I think that to start a friendship, you can really create an amazing interaction by starting with a gift, with a basket, So I am just the guy helping a brand walk next door, and I give them the basket of food, and then walk away and don't say anything. Come on. And I take them away from the next door neighbor. And then I go, now wait 3 weeks. And if you need something, then ask, but don't ask yet. And like the brand's like, but I want something. And I'm like, I know, but you got to chill out. So like, and then I'll go next door myself and say, what did you think of the neighbor?
Yeah.
Like, did you meet Joe? And I'm like, oh man, Joe was so nice. He gave me that food. I'm like, he's such a sweet guy. And I'm like, yeah, Joe thinks you're awesome. And so like, I'm just going to set them up, right? I'm trying to matchmaker.
I was going to say, you're dating. You're helping them date.
Have you ever set up a date? That's all I'm doing. I'm just setting them up so they like each other a little bit, and like make sure they're cool with each other. Now, if Joe didn't like the guy and he goes, he was kind of full of himself. The basket of fruit was garbage and I didn't really like him. His attitude was weird. I'm like, oh yeah, he does that sometimes. Go back and tell him, hey, you need to find somebody else to bring a basket of fruit to. They weren't a fan of you, and the fruit it was spoiled and they didn't like the fruit.
Fruit was spoiled, date was spoiled.
Yeah, telling a brand that their product sucks is probably the hardest part of my job.
Yeah.
So I usually just let the influencer tell the brand. So this is something kind of special about the system I'm working on is It's about the feedback and the review and the UGC. It's not about the sale. By removing the sale from the conversation, we get back to what actually matters. And so it's feedback, and it's an excessively good feedback system. Now, if you could get popular people talking about your product, you're golden, right? So like, let's imagine you're a pizza shop owner. You're moving into a new town. You got the greatest recipe. Your pizza's fantastic. It's got little pepperonis, those little ones that get the grease in them. Oh, they're so good. Your pepperoni pizza is the best on earth. Yeah, the cup. And you're like, I just need to get people to try this because, man, when they try my pizza, they're going to be obsessed with this. So what do? Well, you can sit around all day and just wait for people to show up, or you got a pizza shop. Why don't you just start giving out some pizzas? So, send out coupons, get people in the door. Hey, free pizza. Come try this. We're the new. This is a grand opening. Get a free pizza. So you do the grand opening, get all the free pizzas out there. Now, the day is over. You're exhausted. You've been making pizzas all day, and you look at your sales. How much money did you make that day? You just did the grand opening. You gave away all these pizzas. You made negative money.
Yeah.
That is a loss leader if I've ever seen one. Not only is it your time, it's also a freak ton of product, and you're probably just exhausted. Now, if you, at the end of the night, you look at sales and you go, man, this just doesn't work, you're an idiot. Yeah. So like, how long does it take for them to tell their family and friends? How long does it take for them to come back and buy another pizza? Maybe it's a few weeks before people start going, oh, didn't we try that pizza a few weeks ago? Let's try it again. Or they're at a dinner and they're like, oh, did you try the new joint down the road? Or they're texting their buddy, oh, this pizza is so good. That doesn't instantly make him go off and buy another pizza. They need to hear about it a few times. It needs to simmer. It needs to soak. Yeah. And so imagine doing the coupon and then giving it the time that it needs to actually build your customer base out. So you're going to keep handing out free pizzas for a month, and you're probably not going to make your money back for 6. Yeah. I mean, let's just be honest. A loss leader is one of the smartest ways to build a brand, and it's the scariest because it means you believe in your product so thoroughly that you're willing to give it away because people are going to love it. And that's my job. My job is to help brands realize their products are fantastic and they do not need to be afraid of giving it away. And I help them give it away, and influencers love me for it. And so it might seem like a super it's just free stuff. Everybody wants coupons. It's actually no. The influencers are really excited to meet these brand managers. They're trying to meet the marketers. They want to impress you. They're trying to grow their fan base and their brand. They want you to see how cool they are, and they are just hoping that maybe you'll hire them not to do an influencer sponsored post. They want you to hire them to be part of your company sometimes, or maybe that a guy who needs a thing that the influencer does. It's networking, and don't overthink it. So that's my spiel.
Well, it's about the long game. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And it doesn't take more than like 1 or 2 kind of touches in order for, somebody to buy or engage?
7. Yeah. So the rule of 7, I don't know if it's absolute truth. Like everybody throws around different numbers. The rule of 5, the rule of whatever. Rule of 7 sounds about right. Sure. So like, how many times do you need to hear something on the radio before it sticks? Well, probably 2 or 3 times. Instagram, I keep saying this stupid thing. 2 or 3 times you start to notice it. You're like, I just saw this yesterday. What the heck is this stupid thing? So, the first time, you just skim right past it. The second time, a little bit more. 3, 5, 7. If you start getting into those, now you're starting to stick in the amygdala, and you're starting to get their attention. If you have a good product and it's being used by people, and especially cool people, it's really easy to get their attention. So just ask yourself this question. How do you shop? Like, what inspires you to buy? So, I take a step back and think, all right, people don't really like to be sold. They love to discover new things. People love to find new stuff. Who doesn't enjoy the Amazon day with the 3 boxes and the knife and you're, oh man, that's a great feeling. I'm going to check this out. Like everybody loves to buy stuff. Nobody likes to be sold stuff. Remember the guy knocking on your door? No, I'm old. Yeah. This is the guy who used to sell vacuums, or the encyclopedias. I'm really old. I might not look that old, but like
phone
encyclopedia
books.
Sales, phone books. There used to be a guy who'd be like, hey, buy my stuff. Nobody likes that. Everybody thinks of the used car salesman. They're not that bad sometimes, but you know what I mean? So, how do we get out of this selling mindset and start attracting?
Yes.
So when I'm buying a product, the path that I take is the same as everybody's. What do we do? Do we go online? We do a little bit of research. We do a little bit of research for anything. It doesn't even matter if it's like a pen. It was like a $10 pen. Wow, that's a lot of money. I better look at reviews.
Yeah.
Right. So we're psychos about reviews and trust and making sure that things are legit. We don't buy anything unless we check it out first. We do a little like, let's check this out. So the reality is when I'm doing that little discovery process, I sometimes don't buy. Sometimes I'll put it in my cart. I'm sure you guys have done this where you look at something and you're like, I'm going to give it a couple of days. I'll think about it. So we all hem haw and we think about our purchases before we buy them, even for little stuff. So, that part of that process where it's like, what is actually causing me to think a product is worth buying? Mm-hmm. It's when I think it's cool enough to buy, right? Yeah. Everybody has this level, like we know how many star reviews it needs to have. We know exactly how much, like, oh, it only has 2 reviews. I can't trust this. Mm-hmm. Everybody has their limits, mm-hmm. but at the end of the day, it's social proof, right? You see enough people using it and they're happy, you're going to probably go for it. Yeah. So it always goes back to UGC. Everything always goes back to the users and the customers that like it. And it's not that complicated, mm-hmm. but we tend to think, oh, well, I got to create ads. I got to create a way for people to see me. UGC works. Mm-hmm. It just works. Mm-hmm. So, I've done thousands of campaigns with influencers. I'm mm-hmm. thousands of influencers working every day for my company. We have like an insane amount of, it's like a machine now. And, the big thing that comes out the other end is UGC, and it's earned UGC. So, stop paying for fake UGC or staged. Don't want to hurt your feelings.
Zach, you're talking about reviews, Amazon reviews. I'm guilty. I see 2 stars. I'm passing on that. So, but I look and I see, all right, something's got 4 out of 5 stars or 5 out of 5 stars. Which is better?
Yeah. Well, that's the question I ask everybody. Would you rather have 4 out of 5 stars or 5 out of 5 stars? If you said 5 out of 5 stars, you're wrong. So let me just tell you, you're wrong. Here's why. 4 out of 5 is 10,000 times better than 5 out of 5. If it says something positive and negative about your brand, but mm-hmm. it says it was worth it. Mm-hmm. The 4 out of 5 stars is filled with truth. Mm-hmm. Everybody knows that we're all imperfect. Your brand is imperfect. I'm imperfect. Everything's imperfect. Mm-hmm. And anytime someone sees too perfect, we start getting really skeptical, right? Too many 5 out of 5s, you start going, they paid for this. Yeah. Too many 5 out of 5s are bad for your business. So just know that you really do want authentic, lower reviews. You do want them. Mm-hmm. An authentic, lower review, when I check them out, just like you, I look for one thing. Is the reviewer crazy? I go, the guy always writes something like, it came in the box and it was beat up. It's like, that wasn't the brand's fault. What is your problem, dude? So you're looking for the crazy reviewer. So we're judging the reviewers. The reviewers are the marketers. Mm-hmm. The bad reviewers are, some of them are crazy. Some of the good reviewers are crazy or paid off. Mm-hmm. What we're trying to do now is analyze who's an authentic reviewer. Yeah. Influencers are the authentic reviewer if you don't pay them and you don't pressure them to talk about your brand. Mm-hmm. Stop doing that. It's so gross. It's icky. Yeah. I don't like it.
Because people want to hear the good, the bad, and the ugly. Censorship. You don't want to censor things. So kind of leading into censorship, I heard the CEO of YouTube recently quit. So what do you think that means for influencer marketing as a whole?
Susan, she ran eBay. So this girl, I despised all of the changes that happened to YouTube while she was running that joint. I love YouTube. I think it's fantastic. And this is coming from a Google hater. I think Google's garbage. YouTube's kind of special. And it's got a special place in my heart. But like Google has gone down the path of just like our government and everybody else. The woke mob has destroyed so many good things. So, there's a sensitive society, and I get it. We just went through a pandemic. There's a lot of sensitivity right now, but leaders need to be a little smarter than this woke mob. And I don't think Susan saw the woke mob and said, they'll get over it eventually. No, she just fell for it, right? Mm-hmm. She goes, oh my God, we better start censoring and making things better because people are going to hurt themselves. Like she had good intention, and I totally understand. But she took away the thumbs down button, the dumbest move in the history of social media. I can't even believe I'm saying that's real still. Like I was like, it'll come back. They're not stupid. No, they're that dumb. So like, if anybody ever used YouTube, they know that when you see a lot of thumbs down, it doesn't mean that we think the person making the content's bad. It means literally it wasn't worthwhile. Mm-hmm. And that sensitivity of the influencer or the creator on the other end, yeah, it exists. I get it. Thumbs down can hurt people's feelings. But ultimately, that's a good feedback system for an influencer to have. Mm-hmm. They need to know People didn't like their content. Hello, that's how we get good content. It's called feedback. And so, yeah, anyways, it makes me so sad. So that ad-friendly monetization policy, if you guys heard of this,
Yeah.
this is where they censor and silence the YouTube's freedom of speech by demonetizing things that have to do with controversial subjects. So this is things like tragedies. You're not allowed to talk about tragedies. Okay, I get it. Some stuff you shouldn't say. Natural disasters. I mean, I guess that's a tragedy. We don't want to talk about that. What about politics? Oh, well, I mean, politics are just like belief systems, and like, no, like, what about just like your health? Like, yeah, you better not talk about vaccines. That's like real tricky. All of a sudden, you can't talk about anything. So like, take it from a guy who's been censored multiple times. I used to be the guy on Quora. Like, if you look me up, millions of views, my content blows up. I was like really proud of that. I'm like, I'm doing better than Jordan Peterson. This was when he was coming up. I'm like, I'm going to rock this site. Well, I got censored. I got one of my best posts squashed. It had many millions of views. And it was about makeup, the beauty industry, and how corrupt it was. And I was like, women are using, makeup in ways that I think is distasteful. And I put up some pictures. I offended some people. And I know why. Because makeup is a huge business and people use it every day. And I don't have any problem with it, really. It was just more of like, let's have a conversation about makeup. It's just having the conversation. When they squashed it, guess what the reason was that they took down the post? It was mean-spirited. It was a completely objective look at things. And it had a little bit of subjectivity in there, which was, I don't really personally think makeup is that special and important. Yeah. And like, I put my own spin on it, but it wasn't mean, not even a little bit mean. So I appealed and I said, hey, I think that this post actually has a ton of value. Look at how everybody's engaging with it. Well, there was a certain group of comments that was so angry at me that they couldn't ignore it. So I went in and I censored my own stuff. I was pissed while I was doing it. Tweaked a couple things that maybe came across a little bit more mean, right? Nope, not good enough. They squashed it. They shadow banned it and it didn't get views anymore. And I, at that point, decided I'm not going to feed Quora's machine anymore for free. If you're going to have me on your platform, you're going to have to pay me well, because I was just giving you content. And this is the way all these massive platforms need to start thinking about. The creators are your customers. And if you're going to censor them, you better watch out. They're going to jump ship. So Susan, I know you meant well. I know you actually didn't just like follow the woke mob. I'm sure you had great ideas, but actually removing the thumbs down is the dumbest thing you could have ever done. Removing the ability for people to talk about things was the dumbest thing you could have ever done. Censorship kills these wonderful things. And so I'm big on freedom of speech. I'm not this big like Elon Musk freak or any of that stuff, but like, I just think that, freedom of speech is our First Amendment, and like, we should honor it. And like, we should be aware that our government and like, big media is really controlling the messaging. And so, let's not let big media take over everything. Let's fight back. And the way to fight back is to get these creators more power. Let's do it. Let's get them to be the ones in control. It starts with not being obsessed with money, because money is what controls everything. And if you get sucked into the money, guess what? You're going to sell your soul, and you're going to be just as bad as all this junk you hate. And I'm trying to stop that from happening. So I don't want my son to get sucked into the machine. I hope you want to stop your kids from getting sucked into the machine. That machine is literally pay people and control what they say. And I'm just done with that garbage. So anyways, yeah.
No, and I think you're certainly talking about kind of the future of what it looks like, what media looks like, what brands look like. So did you check out Mr. Beast, the future of YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram? Do you want to kind of expand on that at all? Do you have thoughts on that?
Oh my God. Yeah, you have to see this video. So Mr. Beast is probably the most respected influencer on earth because he built such a juggernaut around giving and goodness. So I don't know if he's a great person. I just know him from his personality on TV. So I can't say what he's like personally. But from what I can see, Mr. Beast has an understanding of influencer marketing beyond any brand, including in my agency, anybody, because he is the biggest influencer right now on earth. He chose to not sell his business for $1 billion. Just let that sink in. This is a YouTuber. Didn't sell his business for $1 billion. And like, if you ask him how much he would sell it for, he said no less than 10. because he knows how much it's worth, and it's
Yeah.
worth a lot. So
Yeah.
there's a $10 billion influencer floating around on YouTube.
Mhm.
So this guy, he's talking about this with Lex Friedman recently. If you watch Lex Friedman's podcast, very intelligent guy, very interesting guy. And Lex says, what do you think about, doing sponsored content? These, he called it integrated media. They got all their fancy words, but Mr. Beast was like, oh, it's just, I take the money and I use it to make the content, and then I expose to the world that I got paid, but then I'm using the money to do these things. And so he's got, he's on a different level than everybody, right? He's in the millions of dollars, creating, hundreds of millions of dollars really in some of his creations. So he's in a different level than the little guy and me, like just doing their thing online. But what I'm getting at is he said something profound. He goes, if the brands would just stop trying to get their hands on everything and make it exactly the way they wanted it, if they just gave me a little freedom, my pitch would be more perfect and it would convert better.
Because I think just in general, if brands were more accommodating to let creators tell their story of the brand and talk about the brand in a way that felt a little more natural, I think it'd be less cringe. People would be less likely to go, tap, skip. And obviously it would convert better.
So like he gets it, that it's so cringy when a brand comes in and says, at the 3-minute mark, you need to say this exact thing. And I need you to say it for 30 seconds and it's got to be this fast and you got to have these little disclosures at the end. And you got to say it in your voice and you have to pretend like you like our product. And it's like, just gross. So like, Mr. Beast doesn't have to say yes to those deals.
Yeah.
He's got the leverage now. It doesn't even matter if it's Nike asking him to work with him. At this point, he's beyond Nike as far as his influence and on social media, at least, So he's got the leverage. And if Nike says you need to say it a certain way, he can be like, all right, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Whatever, I won't.
Yeah.
So like, he's got the leverage. Now, a small influencer they don't have the leverage. So I'm an agency, right? An influencer agency. And the magic is in the groups. And then this is something that I think is coming. So you're going to see Mr. Beast. You're going to see, big celebrity names, Will Smith. I don't know if he's still big, but whatever. You got these big names. And then you have an influencer group by the name of ApexDrop. And these are side by side. And then maybe there's some other influencer groups. So these influencer groups become mega powerhouses because the groups have a ton of power. So the way to get the power back is either to become a celebrity or join a big group that has power. I am part of a group that gives power to the group. I say, I want you to have creative control, and I don't want you to take the check first. I want you to keep your power, because something really simple that Bill Cunningham said. You can read that.
Yeah.
That's my favorite quote of all time.
I love that.
So Bill Cunningham, fantastic photographer. If you don't take the money, they can't tell you what to do. And if you just don't take the money, at least that first check. And I'm really just about the first check. Don't take that initial transaction, because that's you selling out.
Yeah.
If you have no clue if their product's great, don't take the check. Do your due diligence, become an actual customer, care about the brand, care about their message, care about the leader of that company, care about what they do before you go telling all your fans that this is a great thing. Because if you tell your fans that there's a great thing and that brand is a piece of shit, guess who looks like a piece of shit now?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to protect the influencer from ruining the trust that they worked so hard to build.
Yeah.
And people think I'm abusing the influencer, but it's the opposite. I actually relate to the influencer and I'm trying to protect their trust. The brand could give two shits about your trust. All they care about is that you sell their product. They don't care about you. They don't care about anything about you. They literally don't. If they're just reaching out and saying, hey, we really liked you and we'd like for you to post about our company, they could care less about you. That is a template that they sent to 400 other influencers. Sorry, guys, you're not that special. But guess what? You can get your power back. Don't take the check. Don't sell your soul. Make sure you only talk about things you love and just keep doing that awesome thing you're doing, because whatever that is, that's working. And you might go, well, I got to pay my bills, Zach. How on earth am I supposed to pay my bills? I have to do something else. Well, go get a real job.
Yeah.
I hate to say it. Influencers, guys, I hate to say it. You're going to have a real job too. So whatever it is you're doing as an influencer that's making you special and popular, put that on your resume and go to places that need those skills and start doing that for an actual paycheck and watch how fast you grow. Just start doing the thing you're doing already. Just do it for a company.
Yeah.
So, all right.
But talking about creative control, I mean, on the flip side, the conundrum for businesses that they'll worry they'll be screwed over if they don't pay. how do you alleviate that worry?
So yeah, you will be giving up creative control if you don't pay. That's the whole point. So yeah, that does sound kind of weird. Brands get real nervous when they say, well, I need it to be a certain way. Well, then, yeah, you're working with a celebrity at this point. You're doing an endorsement. And yeah, of course you need control when you're doing endorsements. What I'm describing isn't endorsements. What I'm describing and what I do for a living is I help brands do product samples and product placement. That's it. It's not influencer marketing. I mean, it's really not.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. If you're working with an influencer and you're paying them, then yeah, you absolutely need to control the outcome, because they're going to say #ad and they're going to tell everybody that they were paid because they have to legally. And they're going to look like a sellout either way, honestly. But you're going to get control. Isn't that amazing? Now you can control the narrative and you can be the censor. So yeah, brands get a little bit full of themselves and censorship too. And I'm going to expose something I probably should. I'm not going to give the name, but I have an email from a lawyer from a very large company that I will go unnamed. Don't go on my website and looking for who they are. But I won't mention anything else. So they about who they are. They sent an email that says, your brand terms are no good. Like, this is directed at my company. You need to put something in your terms with these influencers that says, if we don't like their post, we can by law have them take it down. Now, this is no joke. This is a legitimate business telling me I have to, or they're going to cancel this big contract that I have with them. And so you might go, well, then Zach, are you going to sell out? And this is the dilemma I face. Oh my God, I'm about to lose my biggest customer over this. I am. And I'm going to say, sayonara, I'm better than you. And guess what? Someone else is going to come in and take your spot. So good luck with that. Good luck with your censorship and all your BS. So, it's cool. As an influencer, if you're watching this, come and join the group that cares. If you're an influencer that's been making it, you can still join us. We like you guys. We like the big influencers that are getting paid too. We want to represent you in any way that makes sense. However, we're probably going to set up relationships that don't start off with a check. So just be aware. We're going to try and create the connection, that handshake, that friendship. That's just our MO. It's not that bad. It's not that bad to take a little bit of a cut just to get into this. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with the censorship. Brands do it, governments do it, your boss does it. Everybody's censoring, but keep an ear open for truth. I'm telling you right now, you got a guy here that'll turn down a massive contract to uphold his principles. Not everybody's going to do that.
And you want to talk about trust, credibility, and respect. That's how you do it. And you've showed that you stand by your word, not only for the brands you support, your marketers, your influencers, but you're also doing it for your own brand as well.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I like to sleep at night. So I'm doing it very selfishly because I like to go to bed and feel so good when I go to bed. And I go to bed so happy. So my goal is to make sure I'm impressing myself and everybody else. If you want to come along, that's great. I impress myself with this, which means I feel like I'm doing a good thing for the world, and that is enough for me. So if that's impressive to you, that's great. I'm excited. I hope you can join the good side. The good side is definitely in the exposing the fakes, exposing the bullshit, staying with the people that actually care about transparency and trust, stay with the people that believe in openness and that, freedom is important. And that we, I do want to mention something about freedom. It can go too far. Freedom isn't always perfect. So there's this thing, absolute freedom causes absolute chaos, right? We know this, but absolute control also causes absolute chaos. So all I'm trying to do is find this balance between those two. And I'm not perfect. I'm probably going to make a lot of mistakes. I'm probably going to figure things out as I go a little bit more, but I do know one thing for sure. The tension between freedom and the constraint is where the magic happens. And I'm trying to help people find that nice harmony where we can work together, where everybody wins. The brand wins, the influencer wins, and the fan, the guy who's actually going to end up looking at this stupid piece of content being made. Hopefully it's not stupid. Yeah. That's kind of how I look at it. If everybody wins, it's a net positive for Earth. Let's play that game.
Yeah. Well, Zach, as we wrap up this great conversation, is there anything that you want to leave the listeners with, about the truth that you were able to talk about today?
Yeah, I guess the way I would end this is the way I started this. People don't need paid to share the things they love. People don't need pressured to do the things they're going to do naturally.
Mhm.
Stop trying so hard. That's it. Quit being a try hard. You got this.